It's our 10th anniversary.
Come help us celebrate.
This week on Dirt.
Texas, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ontario, Quebec. In North America, if there's a hotter major league sport, you tell us what it is. More than 40 blazing dirt track speedways running every week. The fastest growing auto racing organization around. Now, this week on Dirt, here is Doug Logan and Andy Fusco.
Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to This Week on Dirt. My name is Doug Logan, and joining me, the senior editor of Stock Car Racing magazine, Andy Fusco. We look back on 10 years of dirt television. It should be fun.
Right you are, Doug. This Week on Dirt first went on the air back in 1979. This week, we look at the highlights and light moments of the last 10 years.
Now, before Andy and I were on the scene, Jack Burgess was the host of the show, and we opened it a bit differently. Let's take a look.
This is Fast Action Auto Racing Review. Hi, I'm Jack Burgess for Dirt of Central New York, set to bring you the excitement of dirt track auto racing. Our show each week will include driver and official interviews, highlights of the best dirt tracking action around, interviews from the winner's circle, and of course results of major auto racing action from around the dirt circuit.
Now, This Week on Dirt, here is New York State Sportscaster of the Year, Doug Logan.
Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to a half hour of racing excitement. This Week on Dirt. And on this week's show, we'll take a look at results from our dirt-sanctioned tracks around the area. We'll be keying on that Miller Mr. Dirt series. We'll also have drivers' interviews, including an up-close and personal with Bobby Allison. Welcome to this week's edition of This Week on Dirt. Joining me in the studio, the president of Drivers Independent Racetracks, Glenn Donnelly.
Now, This Week on Dirt, here is Doug Logan and Andy Fusco.
Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of This Week on Dirt.
Welcome to This Week on Dirt. Hi, I'm Jack Burgess for Drivers Independent Racetracks, Dirt of Central New York, set to bring you the thrills, action, and excitement of dirt track auto racing. You'll be viewing filmed highlights from various dirt-sanctioned speedways, reports from the winner's circle, in-depth interviews, and, of course, results of major auto racing action around the dirt circuit.
Oh, boy, you gotta love it. And this next segment of First will probably embarrass a few more of us.
Basically, our involvement with this automobile is more one of curiosity than anything else. We have watched Will Cagle for the entire existence of the magazine, which is about 15 years now, and it just seems as though every year Will Cagle is one of the winningest race drivers in America, and we wanted to know exactly how he went about it. So we basically asked Will if he would be willing to build a race car and allow us to photograph it and allow us to write about it and talk about it, and we were lucky enough to have him agree to that. So this is Will's car, and we will be featuring it in the magazine, and the folks in upper state New York will be getting the opportunity to see it racing repeatedly in many of the upper state ovals.
Speaking with Jack Johnson from Schenectady, New York, whom everybody has tabbed a favorite for today's National 200 at Rolling Wheels. Jack, everybody predicts you to win this event. Do you agree with that assessment, and are you confident going into it?
Well, we're confident of winning, Andy. It just depends on, probably the pit stop today, and you got to be there at the end of the race. I think if we're there at the end, we'll be in the winner's circle.
A little more experience, and I think you're going to have to interview you in the winner's circle.
Oh, I sure hope so. I don't know. It's early yet.
What do you mean it's early?
Well, first few weeks of racing.
You're ready, aren't you?
Oh, I'm ready.
Do you have any intentions of moving up from modifieds to sprints and eventually into the USAC circuit?
As long as I can keep racing for a living, I don't care what it is. As long as I keep racing. I'll stay in a modified, whatever.
Brett Hearn is the runner-up in Mr. Dirt competition last year and also runner-up in the CRC Super Series. That was 1983. Brett, how about 1984 thus far?
Well, 1984 has probably been one of our most consistent years so far. We've got 4 wins, 8 seconds, and 2/3 in about 16 races. So as far as consistency goes, we're real happy. I wish I could just have turned some of those seconds into some wins.
The years may change, but as this next piece shows, the concerns of the drivers remain the same.
How is the competition up here in central New York stacked to the competition down in Pennsylvania and New Jersey?
Well, competition now, the chassis have become so refined and engine builders much smarter that competition all over is very, very heavy.
Kenny, what would you say to that?
It don't matter where you go, you always got a lot of competition because you always got the guys that run the tracks each week. They're going to be tough because they got the right setup.
In other words, they're dialed in just a little bit better than any outside invader coming in.
Well, naturally, if you run there every week, you're going to be dialed in better than somebody just coming in.
Okay, 2 of the top shoes in modified racing, 2 of the top competitors in the Schaefer series, and of course they're going to be 2 of the top guns come the Schaefer 200.
This Week on Dirt will continue in a moment.
With all the races we've covered in 10 years, there was bound to be some spectacular crashes. Here's our first installment.
February 1981, during the running of the Snow Pro Championship Finals at Weedsport Speedway. At the drop of the green, Robert Levac and Alan Decker hook skis and Levac flips over. Decker hits starter Bobby Watson in the ankles, flipping him over a full 360 degrees. In slow motion, you can see starter Bobby Watson being hit and cartwheeled upside out. Watson was uninjured and flagged the rest of the race.
Racing third, Kitzer on this second spot, back into the number 3 spot, down the back, look down, Eddie Lynch, backstretch. Eddie Lynch Jr. going over hard in the backstretch area.
Fortunately, Lynch was only shaken in the bone-jarring crash.
Anytime you can pass coming off the 4th corner, you've done the right thing here at Syracuse. It's the place with the most room. Oh, we got an accident. Trouble. Oh, whoa, whoa. Hard hit coming off the 4th corner, and cars still piling into the damage.
Bob McCready has just dodged a bouncing tire. He comes through okay. We'll see a large crowd was on hand at Lebanon Valley, the oldest continuous racing operation under the same management in the nation. Now in its 33rd season.
Doug, I know you've been to most all the tracks in central New York, and Lebanon Valley is far different than the tracks you've seen. Imagine a racetrack with straightaways nearly as long as Syracuse, but turns nearly as sharp as Weedsport.
Ooh.
That is Lebanon Valley. Here we've got Richie Burgess sneaking under Randy Glinsky for the lead. Keep your eye down at the bottom of the screen as the cars hit the first turn for some real excitement.
There it is. Maynard Ferret. Look at that sensational spin and flip.
Doug, it's amazing to watch those frightening crashes and realize that no one was injured in any of the wrecks that we'll see on this show.
The cars sure have been safe for the drivers over the years. Now, along the way, we've been fortunate to visit with some of the racing notables.
On August 19th at Fonda Speedway, Kyle Petty raced in the Summer Championship 100-lapper, becoming the 3rd Petty generation driver to race at the famed Fonda Oval.
To come back to a place that my grandfather raced at one time and that my father won races at, then, you know, that's a pretty big deal, and especially being a track like this where, you know, it's dirt and we don't come back to these type tracks anymore. So, you know, it's kind of like carrying on some type of tradition to come back up here.
We used to run the Grandmaster cars on dirt, and it was quite a good circuit, but we've gotten away from it completely now. But I think the fun of racing, you know, what I do on the weekends, just like today at Pocono, is all business. Here it's, of course, it's business too for these fellas that do it week in and week out, but this is where the fun is still in racing, I think, is running dirt.
Well, we've been real fortunate for the dirt races. I was teamed up with Mark Fleury and his extra car, and you know they know what it takes to get these cars around these tracks.
What are the front runners on the dirt circuit like to run with?
Oh, they're aggressive. You know, this is an awful good circuit. I'm amazed about how many competitive cars and how many racetracks there are in this area.
Interesting to see the great Cale Yarborough in his first trip in a dirt modified, and he had some trouble.
Well, there's a first time for everything. And speaking of firsts, here's an historic first and a last from last season on our show.
Here with Doug Hoffman, New Smyrna Speedway. Doug, how's the dirt car seem to handle on the asphalt?
Well, we changed the car around. We stiffened it up on all 4 corners, and it feels pretty good. Each time we go out there, I keep feeling more comfortable and keep getting a little bit smoother. So, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
Feels really good. I'm surprised. The car ain't set up really right for it. It's a little darty, but Other than that, it feels real good out there.
With Glenn Donnelly promoting it, I got to believe it'll be a success. He doesn't have many strikeouts.
Frank, I guess it's sad to say that Nazareth will be closing in 1988.
Yeah, Labor Day's the last day, and they're going to level her down and make another shopping center. It's been there so long, and it's like the big thing in Nazareth, you know. Now they have the big track. Well, it's kind of taken a back seat to it, but I know there's a lot of people who are going to miss it, and I'm going to miss it, and you know, I really hate to see it close.
This Week on Dirt will continue in a moment.
One exciting accomplishment for This Week on Dirt over 10 years, Andy, has been the fact that we've brought exciting dirt racing to the public.
It's really the drivers who are the stars of this program, and hopefully these next highlights will bring back some fond memories.
Our greatest races segment begins with Super Dirt Week's closest finish ever, 1985, the last lap. That's Hearn the 20, 12A Jack Johnson, Barefoot Bob McCready third in the 9. Here's the race call from Steve Evans and Brock Yates at Diamond P Productions.
McCready, of course, driving hard. He's got plenty of fuel as they head down into turn number 3. It is still Hearn right behind him. Johnson and McCready making one final bid as they come out of the final straightaway.
Jack Johnson goes for one final shot. It is not enough.
John Moravec will never forget his 1988 win at Canandaigua. Moravec on the outside in the white car, Danny Johnson on the inside in the orange car. Look at these two as they come to the wire. The last lap of the 1988 Lebanon Valley 200. Rich Urich in the number 10, the leader, and a brakeless Billy Decker in the number 91 drives around him on the 4th turn of the very last lap. A 200-lapper decided in the last 200 feet. Canandaigua, 1979. Watch Darrell Weldy in the white Kneisel 711.
Corner, Cagle on the inside. 23.83 seconds, the last trip around. Up on the outside groove, here comes Darrell Welty. He's got the number 2 spot. Welty looking for the lead now. Darrell Welty, Mr. Outside, hot shooting it way up there, Rib Rider. Hey, he is hooked up and he is flying right now. Alan Johnson staying on the inside. Look out, Danny Johnson is sideways. Danny Johnson sideways, and we got a new leader going down the back chute. It's Darrell Welty in the 7-11.
And Weldy goes on to score a major upset in a borrowed ride in the Canandaigua 50-lapper. Dave Lape and C.D. Colville in that famous 1985 July 4th finish at Syracuse. The officials viewed this piece of videotape and they called Lape the winner. But don't tell that to C.D. He still disagrees to this day. And this may have been the best move of the entire 1988 season. Danny Johnson comfortably in front on the Firecracker 100 on the last lap when Jack Johnson drives under him in turn number 3 and goes on to victory. Danny Johnson still can't believe it.
Any pursuit is worth little without humor. Enjoy our pursuit of Tommy Hager and Will Cagle.
Now let's meet Pensy star Tom Hager. I'm too, and he says, where in you-know-what did you ever get that? Tom Hager out of Easton, Pennsylvania, in a brand-new show car engineering speed shop chassis here that Tom has been doing well with. Tommy, how about the Schaefer series?
Well, I plan on trying to make every one possible, and as you know, the gas crunch has hurt us a little bit, and I've been seeing that I get gasoline. Glenn Donnelly, promoters, see that I get gas to get home if I can get gas to get here, so we're going to try to make all the shows.
Last question. Skyline Speedway, early 1970s. Were you getting paid deal money to run second? True or false?
Sometimes it pays more to run second than it does to win.
Like at Skyline Speedway in the early 1970s. Hey, did you check out Tommy Hager's T-shirt in that interview? And also Will Cagle, wily to the end. You know, some interviews turn out to be downright prophetic, as we see in this next piece.
We come back, we qualified 6th, I believe, and then we were just running in the race, and we come off a 2, and the car come off the wall and caught the right front, and I just got turned around in the backstretch, and not much room there, and we just got upside down.
Why do you think you have such bad luck at Syracuse?
I don't know. It's just a black cat that I got to shake. You know, last year we finished it, but we finished 8th. It was probably a good year, and we had nothing go wrong the whole week, and you know, everything felt good. We're off on the combination, but we'll break it.
What's ahead for 1986?
Well, there's some things we didn't accomplish last year that, of course, we're going to concentrate on. The Schaefer race for one, you know, that's everybody's big objective in the modified ranks. So we're going to really put 100% effort in that, and it probably is going to take away a little bit from our weekly efforts. But you know, we were disappointed about last year at the Schaefer race, and we're going to do our best to do a little bit better this year.
What's left? Any horizons? Any frontiers? Where will you be in 5 years?
I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. In this country right here, our great United States, there's still plenty of opportunity out there, and I still enjoy what I do, and I still enjoy the idea that I have the opportunity and that God has given me the health and strength to continue on. And I don't know where it'll be, but I imagine it'll be a very pleasant place.
Bobby Allison, a real racer.
More of This Week on Dirt in a moment.
You know, it was so difficult for our producer, Terry Rumsey, to decide which crashes to use in our 10th anniversary show. He gave you another sample. Enjoy.
One of the scariest crashes ever at Syracuse, 1985. Johnny Byrosh, number 9, Sammy Swindell, number 11, and look how long it takes before Buzzy Rudiman, the 00, collects them. Last year at Can-Am, watch Mike Mitchell in the white car and listen to the crowd. They'll tell you all you need to know. Here's Mike Romano and Brett Hearn crashing for the lead in Dirt's first ever blacktop race last year at Cayuga. Who can forget this one? The infamous 1987 pit exit crash at Syracuse. Chuck McKee in the 19, Fuzzy Van Horn, a sitting duck in the 71.
We've got a real problem now in turn 1. Boom! Oh, Carl Van Horn spun.
There's Gary Waters getting Maynardized at 1987 at Lebanon Valley in turn number 1. The 3 goes over. The ESS Sprinters at Rolling Wheels 2 years ago. This double flip nearly wiped out our cameraman down in turn number 1. Lebanon Valley last year. Jack Cottrell cuts a tire and slows on the front stretch, and look who comes up behind him, Brian Goey and Chris Soltis.
Everybody got by, but Brian Goey's number 44 and Chris Soltis' number 0 collided and smashed.
Remember last year in the Miller 300 when turn number 3 became the world's largest parking lot? There's the restart that started it all and soon became a 30-car pileup. That's Dickie Larkin in the middle, flipping over.
Look at this. Count the cars. There must be 15 cars involved in this thing. Green flag still is not out.
This is the restart right after Larkin's flip last year at Syracuse. Bad day for Richie Urich. He was in that crash with Larkin, and here he is again getting collected in turn number 3 by Glenn Fitzgerald and Brian Stevens.
Everywhere on the racetrack. The whole front stretch is tied up.
More 1988 Super Dirt Week action. This is the start of the Ground Round Nationals. That's Todd Schaefer, the number 11, getting squirrely.
The car that started 10th in the field.
Back to Can-Am, 1988 Saturday night show. Stevie Roberts in the red car in turn number 1 for a wild ride. That's Stefan LaFrance going over the bank.
In between the exciting racing and heart-stopping crashes, we shared some special moments, evoking gratification, sadness, and even fright.
Now we were transferring some the Cam 2, the Supreme, and from a tanker truck into a big tank. And Tony was doing it, and he just walked away and went around the corner, and boom, it blew up. Now there's a lot of firemen around, and for them to put the fire out, I had to move the truck. I didn't want them to get hurt, so jumped in the truck and drove it off the premises, and it was steaming. The paint was burnt off of it, as a matter of fact.
Now, Bob, you're a professional race driver. Of course, this is the time of year when you make all your income, and now you're sidelined. Your cohorts, the other fellow drivers on the dirt circuit, did something pretty kind for you down at Flemington this weekend, didn't they?
Still can't quite get over what they did for me. And I'll be honest with you, I've been trying to figure out how I could run the car in a couple of big money shows just to try to keep going. And, you know, that would have been in about 3 or 4 weeks. And that's certainly not what the doctors want me to do, that's for sure. But, you know, I do have to eat and pay my bills like anyone else. And the way the people have been to me, I can now, you know, back off from that and do exactly what the doctors want me to, which is probably the
the bridge collapsed on the thruway back in April, you were very nearly a victim.
We were the fourth or fifth car in line that day. We were on our way to Weedsport. It was raining that morning, and we left a little later than usual, and luckily we weren't involved. That day I forgot my fire suit. My wife had to run back in and get it, and that delayed us for about 5 minutes, and thank God we were delayed because it was about a 5-minute deal. We would have been in the drink, I'm sure.
Tell me what you saw when you got there.
Well, what I saw was a bridge gone, and I ran up underneath the bridge and just looked to see if my truck was involved because they were ahead of me by about 10 minutes, and I looked underneath and I see one car upside down in the creek. It was really a scary experience for all of us.
Well, the Dirt organization and Weedsport Speedway, I've had some awful good times upstate New York here, Weedsport, Rolling Wheels, Canandaigua, the central New York area, and it's been great running up here, and I would like to, so to speak, end our career in modified racing in New York State at Weedsport. From the Dirt organization being here to us have won the most races here in our career, and the people up here are just great, and I've had a good time doing it, and I want to thank everybody that's been a part of it.
For Andy and me, this program has been a labor of love. We hope you have enjoyed our look back in history.
And if your heart skipped a beat, your eyes glistened, and you smiled a bit, well, then we did our job.
All right, it has been a whole lot of fun. Now, next week, much more of the very best this week on Dirt.